Okay, we are. Second. All right, we're learning the mimer, Shema Yisrael on page 42, the left-hand side on the bottom. It says like this. It says Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. And Tzarech Lahavin, Lama Hiskir Beis Pa'amim Havaya. Why does the pasuk say 2 times Hashem, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad? But another question is, Lam hifsiku anshe knesset agdoil ben echad levihafte baruch shem kvoed mechus olam vod. We know the pasuk itself in Devorim Veschanan and Devorim says Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, and afterwards it says the pasuk v'hafta. And when we say Shema Yisrael, we put in between the Chacham anshe knesset agdoila instituted that we say the verse baruch shem kvoed mechus in between. So the question is why? The Gam Tzarech Lavin also one needs to understand Pirush Shema. What does Shema mean? It says Shema means Shu Lashon Asifa, to gather, traditionally. Like it says, Vaishama Shol Esam, Shol gathered the people. V'gam Lashon Avon, it also means to understand. So what is gathering in and understanding? V'hine v'hafta, we know the word v'hafta, and it says in the Torah, v'hafta, that you should love, is seemingly it's Lashon Tzivui, like you should love, it's a commandment. It's also futuristic. It's a statement. Vigam lashon asid. It also means futuristic. Pirush Shaimer Kosiv. The pasuk is telling us that the pasuk is telling us that sheyamik bedaitoi, that if you pay attention, the yavin shavaya echad, that you really understand that Hashem is one, then yavay lebechinas, you'll be able to come to the level of v'hafta, loving. So the statement v'hafta means to you should love. It also means you will love. It means if you do, you have to do to love, you will love. And that's why it means v'hafta lashon asid b'chol avavcha b'shnei tzaracha. It's not just going to affect you. It's an effect. Sorry, it's an effect both parts of your heart. Meaning to say, in both the Yetzer Hara and the Yetzer Tov, Shafilo Yetzer Hara, even the Yetzer Hara, is nichnu batel gabi avos Hashem, is going to also love Hashem, even though traditionally the Yetzer Hara doesn't love Hashem, and the Yetzer Hara is going to love Hashem as well. Wait
a minute, I'm trying to understand that because Russia will love Hashem because it's a logical statement that you should love follows. You should what? No. I'm trying to remember.
So good question. So what he's saying is the Yetzer Hara. We're talking about the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara means a person has inside them 2 sides. The side that's pulling them.
Yeah, that's not the question. Yeah.
And the side pulling you to bad. So the side that's pulling you to bad, if with the proper hisbonenus and proper applying the information the right way, it's gonna, even the Yetzer Hara is gonna realize that he should love or she should love Hashem. Means it's, what is love? Love is he's saying love is the v'hafta, you should love. Why? How could you love? It's a famous question. How could you command to love? So if you apply yourself by his hisbonenus, then you will love, and not just love on one side, the Yetzer Tov, the nefesh elikis, but even the nefesh bahamis, the animal side within you will also love, because it's kiyuchayacha. He's going to explain.
But it's conditional.
It's conditional on you applying yourself. If you apply yourself, then the Torah is telling you you will love. Means if you go on the journey and you're going to try to love, you will love. But in order for that to happen, it's not just you want it to happen. You have to apply yourself to it.
If this is a person if they're Russia, they're probably not going to want to do that.
Oh, so that's the point. If we're talking about a person who wants to go on the journey, we're not saying that the Russia is going to love. We're saying the Yetzer Hara in the person. Everyone has good and bad within themselves. We're talking about the person who's struggling, both when the Beinoni. We're talking about the middle person who has both the Yetzer Hara and Yetzer Tov, wants to go on the journey to love Hashem. So saying if you apply yourself, you will love Hashem, and it will affect both, even your animal side will love. And he's going to explain how that works.
Yeah, well, if it's all conditional, because
it is conditional, yes.
A lot of people don't have that desire to
begin. So then you're not doing the mitzvah. The mitzvah is that you should love.
Yeah.
Meaning is that you should apply yourself, like you said. You should at least have the condition of wanting to love. Very good. It says like this: Everyone says Beis Pam Mechoyim Kriya Shema Shach Svarv. So we say you're supposed to say Shema twice a day, meaning the morning, the evening. V'afa Pikein. So, like you said, the question is, what happens? Ein Nemaigim LeBechinas V'Hafta. So what's happening? We were saying that you will love Hashem, but we don't see the people do love Hashem. Achinin, the idea is like this. Kihine Chsiv, it says, Re'ei Nesati Lefanecha Hayom Es Achayim. The pasuk says in Tzavim that God is giving us bechira. So he says, Hashem placed before us today the Chaim life. Uvacharta b'chaim, you should choose life. And what is Uvacharta b'chaim, choosing life? Lahavas Hashem l'chacha b'chol levavcha, loving Hashem your Lord with all your heart. Why? Ki hu chayecha, because He's your true source of vitality of life. Hainu kol echad v'echad shroitz l'avdus Hashem tzarech leis b'tchila ha'bechiru shaloi. But this is what you're saying. You have to have the choice. It's conditional. Everyone has to know if you want to serve Hashem, you have to know you have the choice. God says, "B'charta b'chaim," you have to choose life. The Yevit says, "B'charta b'chaim," choose life. So the question is, what do you mean? Who wouldn't want to choose life? Everyone loves their life. Not only that, on the contrary. Someone who really loves their life. Usually someone who loves life loves the material parts of life, the physical parts of life, the olam hazeh, this world, worldly things. How do we say that choosing life means love Hashem? Most people who love life and choose life, it's choosing the material parts of life, not the loving of Hashem part of it. The evil inclination also loves life.
I don't even believe that it's related.
Exactly. Most
There is
people
no God. Yeah.
So we have to really understand, what does it mean, Chaim? Because you're saying God doesn't say Hashem, choose God. It says choose life. But choosing life, everyone, sure, I would choose life, but it doesn't. What's the connection to choosing life in Hashem? It's like this. We say that there's the heaven, and in the heaven there's going to be separation. And he separates he separates the upper waters from the lower waters. Why in this utterance, meaning the second day, this Monday, does the God change mamish with the shenemra inyan havdalah harikia shtei pamim v'yavdil mavdil v'yavdil? Why does he say it like so many times? He's going to separate. He will separate. What's this whole idea of the separation? It says like this. You know, it's Eev says that if you want to understand Hashem, sometimes analyze within yourself. Looking within yourself, and you'll be able to understand the functionality of Hashem in creation. The Mashal gives an example. One of the main parts of life force that gets spread through the body is in the person is from the heart. For example, there's different parts, both physically and both in the physical sense and the spiritual sense, that comes from the heart. For instance, Hishavas HaKol V'Hadiber. How does a person get the ability to speak in the voice, so to say? That the heat, so to say, cooks in the heart, and from the heart it goes to the lungs, and therefore the person is able to, through the lungs, make sounds and express words. And also there's and from the lungs it goes to the voice. That's how there's physical voice. But even on a spiritual sense, the mind gets inspired by the heart, meaning to say, the heart feels something and it gives a message over to the brain to think about what the heart has a desire towards. That's how a spiritual life comes from the heart. That's not just the physical ability to speak, but what you're going to speak about.
Jump between going from a physical heart to the assumption that that's where one's love and emotions come from.
Yeah, so you're saying there's the physical ability to speak that comes from the heart, and there's the emotions that comes from the heart. How do
we even know that does come from the heart? We know what a physical heart is. If you open up a body, you can see it as a heart that pumps blood. But that's,
a person,
physically.
Yeah, but also you feel in your heart. The person, the person who has an emotional experience, you feel it in your chest. I mean, if you feel in your heart, that's where there's information that's in your brain and there's feelings in your heart. Traditionally, that's an accepted idea that most people accept. And you feel it in your body. Sorry, Yev says, what do you feel? When a person gets excited, you feel that in your heart. Your heart starts pounding in excitement. So he says, also the heart pumps the blood. It's an organ that pumps the blood, gives vitality, life to the body. The blood that comes from the heart to the rest of the body. And it helps the person in their growing ability physically. And how does a person have blood that's being pumped? It comes from the fact that you eat the food. It goes in the lower parts of the body, the lower intestines, and then it gets processed through the liver. And the better parts, the refined parts, become proper blood that's is possible to circulate. And the parts of the food that are no longer part of the positive of the story is a person goes to the restroom, that you get rid of, you push out the bad parts of the food that have been left over after the good parts have been processed and pushed towards the heart. We have the separation. The Chatzar Kavod, there's the separation that separates between the lower intestines, lower internal organs, and the higher internal organs. So over there, the better parts go upwards and the bad parts go down. That it separates the more refined internal organs, like the breathing, from the organs of the food, the intestines, etc., and the kidneys, all that. That's an example. So that's an example of me sorry echsa, from my flesh, from a person we could see. So he says, so too is it also an example. That Tzur Levavi, that we have to know that the life also comes from Hashem. Like it says, you give life to everything. And just like we said before, there's the two types of hashba. Hey, Lauren. There's two types of hashba. There's the hashba that comes from the positive, the refined, and so too there's the negative. There's the stuff that the psoilus, the stuff gets pushed out. You have the upper waters, which is like the blood, which is a healthy substance, that is the upper pleasure, so to say, refined pleasure, spiritual pleasure. Like pleasure a person has in Hashem. That's Shabbos, is Tainuk. That means the concept of pleasure is really essentially a holy thing. And the holy part of pleasure is pleasure for Hashem. Unholy pleasure, if it's something that's not connected in any way to serving Hashem, to avodas Hashem, is pleasure that's connected to the psilus, the things that get shot out of the body. So there's the food that can feed two types of things that come out of it. The refined parts is the mayim al yoinim, and that's what was separated. It means before the second day, there was just the concept of mayim. On the second day, separated, that there's going to be mayim al yoinim, upper waters, which is refined, spiritual, holy pleasures, and there's mayim tachtoinim. So habez, and the other one is mayim tachtoinim, lower waters. Heim apsilis, that's the stuff like that gets pushed out. Tanugu elamazeh, it represents the concept of pleasures of this world. Again, there's pleasures of this world that could be used for holiness. The classic example is just the basics, is eating on Shabbos, or even eating during the week if it's a source of energy, like the Tanya says, for avodas Hashem. But in general, there's the concept of tanugu olam hazeh. That once it got separated, once this second day came and separated the upper waters from the lower waters, so the tanugi, the pleasures of this world, is separated became separate. There's no longer, means before the second day, there wasn't yet the concept where there was even the potential for non-holy pleasures. It was all the concept of pleasure. Then Hashem says, one second, there's going to be a separation. Part of creation is going to be that in order to have bechira chavshis, free choice, there has to be the separation. So he says, so v'zehu b'charta b'chayim. And now we go back to the initial question. When it says in Nitzavim, choose life, and so we ask the question, what do you mean choose life? Everyone wants life. But you're saying the life means to love God, but life to me means to love the world. It says that's where it says Becharta B'chaim. Becharta B'chaim al yoinim. Choose the upper waters, the life of the higher pleasures. Choose the life from the tree of life. In the upper pleasures. The limois, not just to choose them and to say, but at the highest level, it should be in a way that mo'os, it should be so to say, discussing to you the concept of just tanugim gashmi, that there's a pleasure in the lower worlds that has no holy purpose, nothing that will help in your service of Hashem. And that's the tree of knowledge. So the tree of knowledge that has in it good and bad also. That's why Klipas Noga, I mean, the Alter Rebbe is not going into details over here. But in Tainug Olam Hazeh, there's Klipas Noga, and Klipas Noga can get elevated to higher things, but on its own, it's not. It depends. You have to make a choice to elevate that. Now comes the question. You're right. So now we understand Becharta B'chaim is not just Becharta B'chaim, but Becharta B'chaim Elyonim. Choose upper life. Choose upper pleasure. So how does it take a person to come to that? Why they kriyish mashach tzravis? You have to go through this Shema, and that's what we said before. It's a hisbaininus. You have to have an inner conversation with yourself about this. What is Shema? The word Shema means Shem Ayin. If you take the actual letters of the 3 letters of the word Shema, is Shin Mem is Shem, is name. Ayin is 70, and the Torah it's a large ayin. Why? Who zayin midas? These are the 7 attributes: L'cha Hashem Hagdula, V'Agvura, Chesed, Gvura, Tferes, etc. Zayin midas kol echad kol miaser, and each one is made up of 10, meaning starting from Chachma, the intellectual part of Chesed, down to the Malchus of Chesed, is 10. So 10 times 7 is 70. That's the ayin. So, but the midas are emotions without expression. And what is how do you express the emotions? I mean, you love someone, right? So how do you tell them that? That's the oisis, that's the words. So what is the words of the midas? That's the shame. That's like we say, right? Shem kel is in chesed, right? The name kel is an expression of chesed. So there's chesed elyon. And how does that come down? It comes in the name of kel. And Gvuras Elikim, etc. So V'Shemu Oisis Me'amidas, Shua Or HaNimshach U'Mispashpet L'Haves Yesh Mi'ayin, that how do the 7 days of creation, each one of the midos, Chesed is Sunday, Monday is Gvura, that's why it's separation, etc. Tuesday is Tveres, that's why Pamayim Kitov. So through the 6 days of creation, so the way the shame is the Oisis, the expression of the Chesed is how Hashem chose, not by force, He chose. Should be the method of creation. Yesh, something from nothing. The name itself becomes the source of life because the name is an expression of the midos. The name itself, before it actually becomes active in creating, is levada, is beyond creation. Like it says, Shemai hu niskav, and only hoide lets shemaim, but the ray that comes out of the name, out of the expression, is the life force of the heavens and the earth. That from these words, from the ray of the words, comes into being the creation. This is all part of the Shema. We're trying to say, how does a person understand to choose life? And life means godly life, the upper life. Starting off, you have to understand the whole creation comes from the midos. That the midos is, and then there's the shame, the oisis, the words, and from the ray of the words comes creation. Hoide eretz v'shemaim. Shafil eretz v'shemaim en ele hoide. Ziv ha'armi oisis, only a ray of the words. This is the utterance of God that put the world in existence. And then from there comes separation of time, meaning the first day is its own day, which says that there be light. Let it be the heavens. And that's the first day of creation. And with His good kindness, God continues to recreate constantly. So it is like this. Each day has its message because it's the vision of the 7 midos. There's the expression, that's why Sunday is a day of chesed, and Monday is usually a day of gvura. The Gemara even goes into different days represent different types of people who were born in different days. So he says, Yehiar is Aleph is nimshach ha'osis hiyar v'bechinis mitzvah chesed v'yom beis hirakia, and Shabbos everything goes chayzelim kaimek ma'isha haya, and on Sunday Shabbos, so to say, all the words that have went out to create means they've been expressed outwardly for a purpose, right? When usually a person says something, we always ask the question, one should ask the question, why did you just say what you said? Or a person asks themselves, why did I just say what I said? Well, what are you asking? I mean, what was the purpose in that? What am I trying to gain? What am I trying to accomplish? What I'm saying now? That's why it's Ezu Chacham. One of the signs of a Chacham is Siyag Chacham Shtika. A person who's smart doesn't talk too much. Why? Because he has to make sure everything he says has he or she has to make sure everything they say has a purpose. So too over here, the Hashem speaks for a purpose of creation. But the words, the energy that went out comes back. Like everything has to go somewhere. And where does it go? That's called Aliyas Ha'olamos, the elevation of creation. That's what we say, L'chadodi, L'kaskala. We say the Kagavna. All the tefillas of Friday night is God's effort, so to say. His shtadlus of putting out energy to create the world comes back because he used the koyach, and that koyach has to go somewhere. He says, Kamash L'adam, for instance, a person. Shumachashev, whether you're thinking something, even thinking is you're putting time into your thoughts and energy and focus, or medaber, even more if you're speaking, is when you completed what you're thinking about, or what you've spoken, means you've accomplished that level of communication, whether it's in your thought or your speech. And the energy that you went out goes back to its origin. That's why Shabbos is called Shabbos to God. That the energy God invested into creation goes back into where it comes from on the seventh day after the completion of the purpose. That means to say the creation happened. So that's Shema. That's the first word. So then we say it's all this boniness for the person to understand that b'charta b'chayim, that when you choose, means the choice hasn't been taken away from you. But Hashem is saying, know what Chaim is, know what your life is about. Make the decision, what's really important to you. When you're saying I'm choosing life, everyone chooses life. That's he says, that's an obvious. But you have to, up to you to define what life is. And God is telling you, B'charta b'chaim is la'avos Hashem, to love Hashem. So how do you do that? So first you say Shema. And then we say Yisrael. What's Yisrael? Yisrael is Yisrael al machshav. Knowing that where you come from as a Jew, Shema Yisrael, is what you love as a Jew, what you know you come from as a Jew. You should know you come not from the utterances, which is a more distant connection to the essence, but from the thought process of Hashem, machshava. And then a person thinks, that Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, that Yud Kei Vav Kei Shem Havaya, who bechinas simsum v'isprastish v'amshacha. The whole reason why God went through the, so to say, the exercise of manifesting in the name of Yud Kei Vav Kei, which Yud Kei Vav Kei starts with a Yud, the Tzimtzum, to becoming a Yud, and then from that taking the message of the Yud and expanding it into the Hey, bringing it down to the Vav, into the Hey of space. So Shem Avayu B'chinas Tzimtzum V'Shpashers. Tzimtzum is the Yud, Hispashers, the expansion is the first Hey. V'Amshacha is to bring it down is the Vav. Fuliyas, and the whole reason he went through that is Lelekenu, to be our God. It's for God had a purpose. And the purpose of going into the name of Yud Kei Vav Kei is to be our God, is to have a relationship with us. And that's the initial thought, where the Jewish people come from, that there should be the Jewish people. That God, in the most essential thought of God, is where there should be the Jewish people. That the Jewish people come from, the Bnei Yisrael come from the inner, upper thought of Hashem. That's much higher than Hashem is one. So when we say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, that we come from Machshava, from the thought process of Hashem, and then that's much higher than Hashem Echad, where Hashem is in creation. Now, Rashi tells us in Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, that V'haya B'yemahu, that what starts off as Hashem Elokeinu, only for the Jewish people, when Mashiach comes, it's going to elevate the whole world and the whole purpose to being that V'yemahu Yi Hashem Echad Shmo Echad. That in the Yud Kei Vav Kei, we also ask the question, why does it say 2 times Yud Kei Vav Kei? Because there's 2 reasons why Hashem manifests himself, so to say, in the name of Yud Kei Vav Kei. One is the name to create the souls of the Jewish people. That's the thought process. And then on a second level, God manifests himself to be into the speech process, which is creation. From the speech, not from the thought, comes the seven heavens and the aretz and the earth, which is the ches. And the four sides, which is Nimraz, that teaches us in the ches and the dal. And the aleph, which is the one of Hashem, which is the yud kei vav kei that goes into the 8 and the 4. Like we said before, the leiv gives both an emotional that the mind should think and also that the mouth should speak. It gives both speech and thought. It's much higher, and the thinking process is higher than the speech. That's why it says Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. And so too we also have to understand that when we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu, know that you started off in the thought process of Hashem. And thought is higher than speech. That's not just speech of the physical material world. But even the angels that come from speech, the angels are also from speech. They don't come from thought. And from God's utterance came all the tzava, meaning the angels. So what's the idea over here? What are we trying to say over here? That what we're trying to say is that there's not just the speech and the thought, that something that comes from speech is lower than something that comes from thought. Also, speech is only a byproduct of the thought. When you think about something, right, the thinking is really what you're motivated about. But in order to get to that, what you're motivated, that means to fulfill the motivation, is there has to be a setting, and the setting is the speech. Like a person who wants to live in a home. In order to live in a home, you have to have a home. You have to buy the home. You have to build the home. So the home itself is the byproduct of a person needing to have a home. So the same thing over here. This is the machshava. God had a thought about the Jewish people, and where did He want to put the Jewish people? It was to make a dir b'tachtonim, a resting place for Him in this world. And this is all the machshava that a person should get to. That we should say that we should say we choose life.
Is that the second? Is that the second Hashem, the one with the echad? The Elokeinu is all of the diversity.
Hashem Elokeinu is the machshav, is the thought, the reason why there is creation, and Hashem Echad is the name that comes to create, because the name Yud Kei Vav Kei means mahava, to create. So there's the creation of the motivation, the creation of the inner ratzon, inner want and pleasure of Hashem, and there's the creation of what's called the chitzonius ratzon, the external, and that's the Hashem Echad.
But it seems like it should be the other way around to me, because the Elokeinu is more the diversity, it's plural, and
Yes.
Echad is, yeah.
Elokeinu is not Elokim. Elokeinu is our God. Elokim is the plural. But you're right. Any time there's Elokim, it's already gvura, it's already pure, it's separation, it's already multiple. The name Elokim is not the name Yud Kei Vav Kei, but Yud Kei Vav Kei came to be. Elokim is your koyach. Elokecha is koychacha. Your source, your specific source of life. Each individual source of life of each individual soul. But there's the soul beyond in the way. There's the division in the thought, because even thought.
Those two words are not related. The Elokim and the Elokeinu.
Now here, but you're right. But Elokeinu, it is related, because even thought is, a person has divided thoughts. The thought also is words. Words is division, but the thought's more closer to the essence of the person than the speech. Not everything you think you say. Not even when you say something.
Why isn't the second Hashem?
Hashem, because Hashem Echad is
that is the oneness is every. It's not.
Yeah, but one is in Hebrew Echad versus Yachid. Yachid means singular. Echad means one of two, one of three. When you say when someone has one child.
Well, I got that. Yeah. I got that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So it says like this, the idea is like this. Here, he's addressing your question right here. But like this, it says like this. When we say Hashem Echad, where do you have Echad? If there's a heaven and earth, which is very divided by 6 sides. Ruchnis v'gashmis is the physical space and the spiritual space. And he's one within all those differences. And what does it mean he's one? That doesn't mean Hashem is one. So the definition of one is Shehem B'Telim Lavis Baruch, that in their separation they nullify themselves towards Hashem. What's Havaya Lekenu? Why is that higher? Addressing your question. That's the difference in Yachid and Echad. Elokeinu is the Yachid, and Echad is more the plural. He's one and the only. The seed of Yitzchak, your only son. From Sarah, life of life. Even higher than the spiritual life, because we said before, even the angels come from Hashem Echad. God gives life to all creation. And he says,
at some point I figured, or I learned, but now I don't remember where, that the 10 Commandments is in the one line of the Shema, and so are the 613 commandments. 613 mitzvot can be parsed also to the words in that line.
Say that again.
That line, the one line that we're talking about,
Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad,
can also refers to the 10 commandments, and the 613 mitzvot are parsed inside those words.
Okay, that could be, but we're not addressing that aspect of it now. We're going into
that, but I'm trying to remember where I learned that from. I've forgotten where I learned that from.
Okay, that I have to check.
You have it. Okay.
They say like this. So because ata is the word ata is aleph taf, which is the beginning, the first and the last word of the aleph bays, and there's the hey moitzoisapeh and the 5 different sounds that come out of the mouth, and through that is life. But that's all ata. That's all the way it comes in division of echad. Like it says yachid, that there's a way Hashem is yachid, and there's the way Hashem is chayla melech, the way His life as a king. God on Himself essentially is one. But to give life to the world, that's a lower level, the way God is king. Only with you is the makar chaim, but that's not the essence. This is all his boniness of the person. So he says, when the person is mizbainin in all this, contemplates this, that we're from Havaya Lekenu, Hashem is from the level of Yachid beyond Echad. So, Bechinas Yachid Mamish, K'may Shekasev, Achas Hi Einasi Achas Hi, Mamish, there's only one, my beloved, Hainamash and Neshama Nikru Yechida, the very fact that the soul, it's the oneness of the soul is connected to the oneness of Hashem, Hashem Shemekabel Sim Bechinas Yachid, that the oneness of our soul is called Yechida because it comes from the Yachid of Hashem, from the Machshava, and therefore, when a person properly contemplates about this, you will love Hashem your Lord, and you will be a b'charta b'chayim. Mamish b'chol levavcha, v'chinas zechitz shebenefesh, the mamish, the essence of your soul. Shebechol nitzis ha'adam kivyachol, that every person has. Yisrael al machshava, every Jew went up to the thought process of Hashem, and therefore everyone could connect to that level within themselves, and they should have love for Hashem. But Moshe Rabbeinu knows that that's the way it should be. So he says to the Jewish people, this is Moshe tells the Jewish people, he says that V'neshev Bagoy, Mul Beis Pa'ar, that we were by Goy opposite the place called Goy, which is opposite Beis Pa'ar, the place of Pa'ar. What was the place of Pa'ar? The place of Pa'ar was a place where the Jewish people sinned with the daughters of Midian. So it says, Kishahizar al Mishnah Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu warns the Jewish people. Moshe says you have to be opposite what Beis Pa'ar represent, because it wasn't just that they sinned with the daughters of Midian, but while they sinned with the daughters of Midian, they also worshipped their idols, and their idols was Pa'ar. Well, Pa'ar hu shem avodah zara. Pa'ar is a type of idol. Shiratul hamshach chayis malmayla. That every idol wants, because there's every source of life and every vitality comes from Hashem, but it's trying to manipulate, to take a life force from God, l'mayim tachtoinim, to the lower waters, that not to give means everything needs a source of chayis, of life, but that we should put life into the pleasures of this world, of ma'im tachtonim, in the lower waters, the pleasures of this world. Like it says, Ben Sora, a rebellious son, who's just indulges in eating and drinking, Like we learn in Parshas Kiseitze. Therefore, the way they worshipped this idol was by going to the restroom and on the idol. Why? Because by that he wanted to show that they no, we want to connect to the psilas. You say that the food gets divided, which represents the upper and lower waters, the higher pleasure, the spiritual pleasure, and the physical pleasure. No, we want the physical pleasure. Therefore, we're going to show you what we want. V'chein hizer, different Moshe tells the Jewish people, v'neishav v'goy beis bar. You have to be opposite that. We're not motivated. Again, this doesn't just mean lowly things. It's a question of what drives you in life. Today, a person could be in a nice suit and tie or a nice dress and be sophisticated, and it's also serving pa'or. Means what drives them is the physical and material things of life. It means to be opposite base bar. Guy, what does it means Veneshev Bagai? Guy means Hainu Bechinis Shiflus. It's an expression of lowering yourself. Achno, Bittelei, love his bark. Nullify what you want to what God wants from you. Shumul, that's the total opposite of base Pa'ar, of what Pa'ar is about. Pa'ar is about all what works for you, what motivates you. What do I get from it? What pleasure do I have in this? He called Isha Sher Halachach Pa'ar because Moshe says whoever goes after the Pa'ar, that gets destroyed by God. That's not real life force. It's not sustainable. God will destroy that. Like you're connected to Hashem, the living God. What does it mean to sit in the hachna and the bittul? That's why when we say the Shema, one is, according to some opinions, one has to sit when they say the Shema. That you nullify, you give serious nefesh to the echad of Hashem. So therefore, we ask the question: why do we say Baruch Shem K'vayid Malchusay?
I don't understand. Why does sitting represent bittul?
Well, you lower yourself down. You're not standing hard. A person stands up.
I thought that simply what it was.
So he says, so he says like this: before the destruction of the first temple, we were in a higher spiritual situation. Meaning to say there are high levels of souls, of revelation of the souls within the being of the person. There was a little hisbonenus. When you contemplated it in a proper way, not everyone did it still. But if they did do it, then right away they got to v'hafta. That he said Shema Yisrael, and therefore right away v'hafta. After the destruction, you couldn't go. We can't just say
based on the concept of unity.
Say that again.
Love. It's attributing love to a feeling of unity.
The love is a byproduct of the hisbonenus in Hashem Elokeinu and Hashem Echad. When you realize that Hashem Elokeinu, that neshamas are connected to the thought process of Hashem, and that's our true chaim, that's our true life. So then you love Hashem, and you're going to love Hashem as opposed to loving other things. So for in the time of the first Beis Hamikdash, that was enough. But achar churban, any yechel legila v'hafta al dei baruch shem k'vayid machus then v'ad hasbonenus is not enough. Means right? Where do we see that? A lot of times people know things, and they say, "Fine, I hear what you're saying, but I still want." Right? How many people? There's many vices that are bad, right? Smoking, drinking, whatever it is. Each one knows. I don't have to spell it out. Everyone knows things that we know that we shouldn't do. We know we shouldn't do. It's not like we don't know the information. It's not like we're lacking information, right? Today they make the information very available. So you know the information, what we should and shouldn't do, possibly if they're right, possibly if they're wrong. But I'm saying the concept of it, not always do we respond to the information. So therefore, it's not enough to have just Shema. So in this, after the Beis Hamikdash, the information enough is not enough for a person to make the choice. So therefore, we have to say Baruch Shem Machusik L'Elan Vod. What's Baruch Shem K'vayid Machusik? Shukabaz Al Machshmaim. That you have to accept the yoke. That's just the way it is. A subject of a king doesn't have to be in agreement with the king. That's the way it is. This is what the king wants. That's what I'm going to do, even if I don't want to do it. But I'm the subject of the king. This is why we answer the question. This is how we answer the question. Why don't people reach v'hafta? Because v'hafta, it's not even enough to this bonus. There's a certain commitment you have to have. You have to have bittul. You have to have bittul not just in the conclusion of the v'hafta. You have to have bittul to become v'hafta. How could a person come to loving Hashem? You have to accept the yoke of Hashem. We have to accept that I'm going to be a subject of the king, and therefore what the king wants me to do is what I want to do, and therefore that will bring me to v'hafta. I have to restrain my other side. I can't change my other side. My other side's not changeable right now. That's too high of an order. But I could restrain it. Nullify what you want. You have a want. Nullify that want. Bitul haratzon agashmi, nullify your physical want. And that's what it means, Kabbalah Sol. Kabbalah Sol means that the Ein Melch B'layam. What does it mean, a king? A king has a nation, not a children. King's not there's no king. A king over one's household is not a king. It's a father or mother. A king means is am lashon oim, separation. Shehu yesh v'davar. I'm something. V'afa became revatal ritzayne. I nullify what I want. Mikol v'kol totally. And if you're not ready to nullify what you want, if you're trying to align what you want, but not to nullify what you want, that's not called avodah. Well, bitul haratzon, hanu kipshutei. What does it mean, bitul haratzon? Literally, in the literal sense, your heart desires something. I want it. I'm not going to do it because God doesn't want me to do it. Whether it's the avoiding of the bad, or also Maaseh Tov, I don't want to do what God asked me to do, but you're going to do it anyways. And he says, we're not even talking about just the forbidden. Even to sanctify yourself into permissible, that takes bittul. You want me to be holy in it's permissible for me. Why can't I just have a good time? No, make that a holy experience. That's like the idea of a person making a vow. Vow is the idea of sanctifying yourself in the permissible. So he continues, precious, and it brings to kedusha, to holiness, which is avarava, the great love, b'chol avavcha. Sometimes it says nikiyus meivu de precious. He says that's why sometimes we say today bli neder. Because a neder is too strong to make your vow is too strong. But the concept is there. Sanctify yourself with the permissible. That makes you holy. That makes it a holy experience. It's kaddish atzmacha. Make yourself holy. That's in avoiding doing things. But how do you be proactive in things? Like he brings down in chapter 15 in Tanya from the Gemara that says you can't get. What does it mean v'asei tov, to push yourself in avoda? Push yourself in the positive means if you reach your limits, which is like those days, the limit was to study a subject 100 times. Study it 101 times. What's one more time? It's not even 1% of 101. Is not even 1% of 100. But you're pushing yourself out of your norm, out of your comfort zone. When you go out of what you're accustomed to, what you're rugil to, is even more important than the 100 that you're doing. If you do always 100. So to do 101, they say, well, it's like a push-ups. If you do 100 push-ups, to do that one extra push-ups is extremely difficult. When it comes to charity, for instance, when a person gives even a little bit, but it's above what you're used to, God finds that more favorable than if you continue giving. If you give, let's say, $100 a week, a month, and you give one time 101 just to get out of your norm, that's very special to God. Because that shows that you're getting out of your routine. And by doing that, Kabbalah's all, being an Oved Hashem, is how a person could reach to love Hashem with all your might. Like it says, Or Zerul Tzaddik, God plants to the Tzaddik, Zarati li ba'aretz, Klal, Shela Yechel Ishtanis Miesh Liesh Acher El V'Bitl Muhusay. He says, what does it mean that God plants the tzaddik? You want to become someone different? You can't just say, I'm no longer who I was, I'm going to become something else. It doesn't work like that. A seed can't decide, you know what, I'm no longer a seed, now I'm a tree. Everyone knows a seed doesn't become a tree. A seed has a process to become a tree. When the seed goes into the earth and it dissolves and it loses its entire identity as a seed, only then comes whatever is going to grow out of that seed. So he says that's the rule. You can't say, okay, I'm ready to be someone for God, but I don't want to have to go through the process of bittul in between. But there has to be a bittul. You have to totally lose what you were before to become something new. Kimshal Azrir, like the seed. If you put a seed into the ground, it's not going to start growing until it dissolves. Only then that seed becomes something great, a whole bunch of stalks of wheat. So to an example, when you nullify what you want, and you restrain the other side, Only then you can come to love. You can't just say, okay, no, for now on I'm going to start loving God and not going to love the world. It's a process. And then you can talk to love Hashem with all your might. Such a strong love that can't even be contained. Because the second level, with all your soul, that's a processed love. It's in your mind. There's a vessel for it. You want to overflow the kli. You want to bring such a love that's even beyond yourself. There's no vessel for that. And the only kli is malchus per v'torah. You have to study Torah, nullify yourself, and do something, because you can't create an actual vessel in yourself, but connect to something that's much higher than yourself. And that's why it says v'shinam tabam. You start learning Torah. V'nikra mitzvah samelach. Asir muter tamei Torah kosher pasul masnisa. Therefore, when you start studying the Torah becomes the vessel that you can connect to the great love. So too, you'll be able to stand your zera, your seed, and your name. Zarchem hu bechinas arzaru ashrechem zayrei. It's going a little bit cryptic here from the end of the mimer. So this by studying Torah, you're able to develop the concept of the seed. V'shimchem is like it says, v'yas David Shem. God made today's Tanya. That David made a name for God, which is Kabbalah's Ol Malchus Shemayim Shu Bechinas Habitul. That in order to really become a vessel to the love, you have to go through a process. That's the bottom line here. We have to go through a process of bittul, of nullification, which means rikiva sagarin, the dissolving of the seed, losing what you once were to become something new. Only then you could have the growth. And he says over here, then we come God's completion. What's completion? When it's consistency, that we bring that what's above should be like what's the way it is above, the way it is below. Like it says about when times of Mashiach coming, lost Lavite, that the waters which we said are separated are going to come. That's going to irrigate the whole area. No longer should there be a separation of the waters. That we align through bittul, we make that our total, that all the mayim is one. And the only way to do that is through having Kabbalah soul, and we bring out a b'chol me'edecha with all your might beyond any vessel. We find the inner core, the inner well of life. That the waters that were initially low waters, when they go through the process of bittul, like water goes under the ground through the dirt and the stones. They avram derech through going through the earth. It becomes a spring of life. And this is what it means. This is what God, Moshe Rabbeinu, tells the Jewish people. Look, you have today a choice of life, good, and mavis, death, and bad. We said before that what's chaim? That's that we have to choose the upper part of the body, the upper waters, the spiritual waters, the spiritual pleasures. And mavis, what's death? Is psal, someone who chooses pa'or, chooses the lower waters, the worldly desires. It's beneath the separation of the upper intestines and the upper organs and lower organs.
Say that it's everything. It's integrated.
Say that again.
Say one is good and the other is bad. Why don't we just say it's all part of the whole? It's all good. It's all integrated.
It's not all good. It's not all good if you're choosing things that are just for yourself, for your own pleasures. That's not
talking good. About the physical and the spiritual. Well, obviously we need both.
No, we're not talking about physical. We're not talking about physical that there shouldn't be physical. We're talking that your whole physical being and your purpose and everything about you should be about serving God and furthering making this place a dwelling place of Hashem, not to have a private agenda that has nothing to do with godliness. That's the difference between choosing the upper waters and lower waters. The lower waters is, yes, of course, you have physical things, you have foods, you have relationships, you have interactions, so everything, but that could be a holy. That's all. Everything's there in the world. Physical things are there in the world, but to be used for a holy purpose. But if the world's there to serve you, so you have a good time, so you get to do what you want for your pleasures, for your things, nothing to do with godliness and holiness, and not done in the proper way, then you're choosing the lower waters. And that's the idea. Yeah, you're right. The lower waters get refined by going through the process of bittul, that when you use them for Hashem. That's the bittul part of it. That's when it becomes lower waters, become a spring of life. So therefore he explained that's the difference between life and good and death and bad. He says, Achine rahu marmi mavis. Bad is worse than death. Dahainu inin pa'or. Hayu oisim ma'apsoyas yesh gomer. Harizer ra yoisim me'etzem apsoyas m'sadatzmai. To turn that the fact that there's psilis, that there's things that you discard, that there's negative in the world, that's bad. That's death. That's the death. The bad part of it is when you worship it. They worshipped the pa'or. They worshipped the psilis. Not the existence of the psilis. So too when it says good, it's even higher than life. It means high. The upper waters are positive. But the choice that you make it when that becomes your motivation, then it becomes higher than chaim. It becomes tov. Chaim also you have in the world to come. But the choice that you make in it, the tov is the choice you make in it. And that choice is better to be in this world where you have an option to make another choice. But you choose the tov. That's higher than the tov on its own. Tov is greater than life itself. The life of creation is only the first two letters of Hashem's name, like Bika, Yud Kei Tzurei Lamim, Yud Nivra Olam Haba, and all the levels of Olam Haba. But that's all nothing compared to the essence of God. And where do you get to the essence of God? Is in this world when you choose the good. God is higher than Chacham Chai B'Chaim, Chai B'Lei B'Chaim, V'chsiv Ki Imcha Makor Chaim. That even that's what's with God, the life is only a source of life is only imcha with you, but you want the essence that's living in this world and making the choices. And how do we reconnect the separation of the two waters is through us making the choice of good and bringing that we turn our entire existence into something holy. All right, everyone. Laila Tov. I just had to finish off the mimer. I know we went a little fast at the end. Laila Tov, and wishing you all a happy Tu B'Av. Today's a Yom Tov. Take care.